Have you ever blocked a shot that you didn't mean to block?
Right. Angel was not supposed to do that. I was trying to get out of the way. I do not like to block shots during All-Star games because what am I doing? So yeah, no, I've never had that happen to me, and I'm so sorry.
Angel Reese showed up to the 2026 All-Star Game at the United Center and barely played like she wanted to be there at all. And now, less than 48 hours after that game wrapped, the chatter inside league circles isn't about whether she gets picked again next year. It's about whether anybody actually wants her back on that stage in the first place.
The clumsiest player ever, sloughed down. Once again, why can Angel Reese not stay up on her own 2 feet and always on the floor, man? Is it those shitty Reeboks? What is it? You always on the ground like the piece of trash that you are. Look at you. The clumsiest player ever. Always tripping over her own 2 feet. Always flopping on the floor. Shoes always coming off. Angel Reese, you need to go get checked out. Sloth?
This was supposed to be the one night all season where Reese and Caitlin Clark finally shared the same court under fair, neutral conditions. No home crowd tilting anything, no coach protecting her minutes, just cameras, a stacked roster, and every player getting evaluated on what they actually brought that night. That's the whole point of an all-star game. Strip away the regular season noise and just watch who actually competes when the format gives everyone an equal shot at the spotlight. And for Reese specifically, this was supposed to matter even more than it did for most of the other players in that locker room. She'd spent the weeks leading up to the game publicly unhappy about getting snubbed from the starting lineup, calling the whole selection process disrespectful. So walking into United Center, she had every reason in the world to come out and make a statement. Prove the doubters wrong. Show the league she belonged in, that starting 5 after all. Instead, what fans got was a performance that did the exact opposite of proving anything.
Angel Reese got blocked by A'ja Wilson. It was so disgusting, sad, and pathetic. A'ja Wilson laughed in Angel Reese's face by how out of control, uncoordinated. You can't make this up. You can't. Let's get right into it, shall we? Like the video, hype the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below and subscribe to the channel. That would mean so much to me. It all started here, folks. It all started with the walk-in.
What she brought was a string of missed free layups that a middle school player would be embarrassed by. Uncontested looks under the rim, the kind of shot she's built her entire reputation on finishing, and she kept clanking them off the front of the iron. No hand in her face, no traffic, just Reese, an open rim, and a shot that wouldn't fall. That's not bad luck. That's a player who looked completely disengaged from the moment the ball tipped off. It's worth pointing out how basic these misses actually were. This wasn't a contested fadeaway or a tough angle in traffic where you can chalk it up to a defender doing their job. These were the kind of layups players make in warm-ups with their eyes closed, and she missed more than one of them. When a player known for finishing around the rim can't buy a bucket on wide-open looks in a setting specifically designed to let scorers pad their highlight reels, that's not a shooting slump, that's a mental checkout. Then there's the sequence everyone's replaying today. Reese got what looked like a completely free run at the basket. The kind of breakaway that's basically a layup line drill in an exhibition setting where nobody's supposed to actually defend hard. A'ja Wilson trailed the play, and by her own account afterward, she wasn't even trying to contest it. Wilson has said flat out that she was actually trying to get out of the way rather than step in and block the shot, which is standard all-star etiquette when someone's got a clean run to the rim. And she still ended up swatting it clean off the glass. Reese then tripped over her own feet, jogging back down the floor, stumbling in a way that had nothing to do with contact or a defender being in her path. Wilson couldn't hold it together on camera. She started laughing right there on the sideline, mid-play, in front of a sold-out arena and a national broadcast audience. Think about how rare that actually is. Asia Wilson is one of the most respected veterans in the league, someone who's played in this exact exhibition setting for years and knows exactly how to hold back and let a scorer through. For her to still end up blocking the shot purely by accident tells you everything about how slow and unprepared Reese looked on that specific play. This wasn't a defender playing hard. This was a defender actively trying not to interfere, and Reese still couldn't get past her.
I want to ask about two moments. Have you ever blocked a shot that you didn't mean to block?
Right. Angel was not supposed to do that. I was trying to get out of the way. I do not like to block shots during All-Star games because what am I doing? So yeah, no, I've never had that happen to me, and I'm so sorry.
Wilson apologized for it after the final buzzer. She said she doesn't like blocking shots during All-Star games because the whole format is built around letting scorers cook and giving fans a show, not around playing real defense. She said she's never had a moment like that happen to her before, where she blocked a shot she was actively trying to avoid contesting, and she said she was sorry about it landing on Reese specifically. But here's the thing that apology can't undo. It happened because Reese was moving so slow and so out of rhythm that even a defender trying not to block her still managed to get there in time. That's not on Wilson. That's on Reese. And honestly, Wilson didn't need to apologize at all. She did nothing wrong. She was being a good sport, trying to let a fellow all-star get an easy bucket in a night meant for showcasing offense, and she still ended up on the highlight reel because Reese's timing was that far off. If anything, that apology says more about Wilson's character than it does about the actual play itself. Now, to be fair to Reese for 1 second, she wasn't the only one coasting out there. All-star games across every league are notorious for low-effort defense and showcase-style scoring runs, and this year's WNBA edition was no different in that regard. Players were lobbing alley-oops with zero resistance, letting scorers walk into threes, and generally treating the whole thing like a scrimmage instead of a competitive basketball game.
At this rate, do away with the All-Star game. Just name All-Stars, throw the weekend away, or if you're just going to give them a weekend off in the middle of the season, that's fine. Give them the weekend off. Don't have no events. Just let the players go on vacation for the weekend or whatever they're going to do and do away with this because this is terrible. People like $400 for that. And Caitlin Clark had to call them out. Angel Reese looking terrible, rolling her ankles out of nowhere, getting layups, missed layups, blocks. I mean, just Asia Wilson missing I mean, it's just terrible product. Terrible product. Gabby Williams, horrible. Kalia Copper, airballing 13-foot jump shot. Just bad product.
That lack of urgency showed up in the final score, too. A track meet with almost no actual defense played by either side for most of the 40 minutes. Fans on social media were pointing out within the first quarter that nobody out there looked like they wanted to actually compete, and by halftime, that sentiment had basically become the entire storyline of the broadcast. People didn't tune in to watch a layup line. They tuned in expecting competitive shot making, some physicality, a little bit of edge between rivals. Instead, they got a group of players jogging through possessions like it was a shoot-around. It's a fair complaint, and it's one that comes up almost every year in one form or another. Fans pay attention to these games specifically because they want to see the league's best players compete against each other without the burden of a long regular season grind. When that competitive spirit is missing across the board, the entire event loses its purpose. But even accounting for that general low-effort trend across the whole roster, Reese still managed to stand out as the worst offender on the floor. Everybody else was jogging through possessions. She was tripping through them, which is exactly what makes Caitlin Clark's night stand out so much by comparison. While almost everyone else on that floor treated the game like a glorified practice session, Clark actually played like she wanted to win it. She was pulling up from well beyond the arc with defenders closing out on her, driving into contact instead of settling for the easy, uncontested look everyone else was taking, and pushing pace in transition even when her teammates weren't matching that energy. She was the one player all night who looked like she remembered there was a scoreboard. That contrast didn't go unnoticed. Broadcast commentators picked up on it in real time, pointing out that Clark seemed to be the only person on the floor treating the possessions like they mattered. And fans in the building responded to it too, with some of the loudest reactions of the night coming specifically off Clark's aggressive drives and pull-up jumpers, not off any of the lazy alley-oop dunks that everyone else was settling for. What made it even more noticeable is that Clark didn't need to play that hard. She's already established. She didn't have anything to prove coming off a snub narrative the way Reese did, and yet she was the one bringing actual defensive pressure, actual shot creation, actual competitiveness to a night where nobody would have blamed her for coasting like everyone else. That's the part that really flips the whole story on its head. The player with the least to prove was the only one trying, and the player with the most to prove barely showed up. Here's the part that's really fueling the "don't bring her back" chatter. This wasn't Reese's first All-Star weekend where the performance didn't match the build-up. She's made a habit this season of talking a big game publicly, whether it's calling out the voting process as disrespectful or suggesting fans didn't show up for her the way they should have, and then failing to back any of it up when the cameras are actually rolling and the stakes are, admittedly, low in an exhibition setting. If a player can't bring energy and execution to a night specifically designed to be fun and pressure-free, that raises a fair question about what's actually driving the complaints when real stakes and real minutes are on the line. There's also the matter of what this does to her actual standing among her peers. All-star selection, at least partially, comes down to a player vote. The people in that locker room, the ones guarding her every single night during the regular season, watched all of this happen in real time from the bench and on the floor. Performances like this one don't just disappear once the final buzzer sounds. They stick in the memory of the exact people whose opinions factor into next year's voting process. And look, nobody's saying every player has to treat an All-Star game like Game 7 of the finals. That's not how these events work, and holding every single participant to that standard would be unfair. But there's a difference between playing loose and playing checked out entirely. Clark managed to find that balance all night, staying aggressive and competitive without turning it into a grudge match. Reese, on the other hand, looked like she'd rather be anywhere else on the planet than on that floor in Chicago, and it showed in literally every possession she touched. Late in the game, with the outcome basically decided, most players are still up on their feet, cheering teammates on, clapping for highlight plays, engaging with the crowd a little. Reese spent stretches of that fourth quarter sitting on the bench with her arms crossed, barely reacting to anything happening in front of her. That's the kind of image that sticks with fans far longer than any box score does. That's exactly why the idea of her getting quietly phased out of future All-Star appearances isn't some wild internet conspiracy. It's a pretty logical read of the tape. Leagues want players in these showcase events who bring energy, who give fans something to actually watch, and who represent the sport well on the one weekend of the year built entirely around entertainment value. A player who can't finish open layups, gets blocked by someone actively avoiding contact, and trips over her own feet jogging back down the floor isn't exactly making a case for a returning invitation. The reaction online afterward pretty much confirmed all of this. Clips of the block and the stumble spread fast, and the tone from most fans wasn't sympathetic. It was closer to disbelief that a player with her level of hype couldn't put together one clean, competitive showing on a night specifically built to be low pressure. Meanwhile, highlight compilations of Clark's drives and pull-ups were getting shared with a completely different tone, one built around genuine praise for actually trying to make the game watchable when almost nobody else on that floor seemed interested in doing the same. The gap in reaction says a lot on its own. When a player underperforms and fans still find ways to defend them, that usually means there's still goodwill in the tank. When a player underperforms and the reaction is mostly jokes, memes, and pointed criticism, that tells you the goodwill has run out. Right now, it looks like Reese is squarely in the second category, and one more showing like this could make that permanent heading into next year's selection process. At the end of the day, All-Star Weekend is supposed to be a showcase, a night where the league's biggest names remind casual viewers why the sport is worth following in the first place. Most of the players on that floor at the United Center didn't hold up their end of that job, treating the whole thing like an afterthought instead of an opportunity. Angel Reese was the most visible example of that lack of effort, missing shots she should make in her sleep, getting blocked by someone who wasn't even trying to block her, and stumbling over her own 2 feet in front of a national audience. Caitlin Clark was the lone exception, the only player who actually seemed to remember that fans paid for tickets expecting a real basketball game and not a glorified layup line. And that gap between the two of them on the same floor on the same night is exactly why so many people are now openly wondering if Angel Reese gets an invite back to this stage at all next year.